Hello, I'm Nicole Zayek, and this is an iPulse Middle East special.
And I'm Allison Wallace. The war in the Mideast continues to worsen. On Tuesday in Israel, airstrike hit Gaza's largest refugee camp, Jabalia. Thousands were killed and many injured. Gloria Pezmina reports.
An Israeli airstrike hitting a crowded refugee camp. The massive blast causing many casualties.
It's too much. This has to stop. This is hell.
Tuesday's explosion happened at what the main UN agency supporting Palestinians in the territory says is the largest refugee camp in Gaza. Israel says the airstrike was targeting a senior Hamas commander.
Sadly, he was hiding again, as they do, within civilians.
Hamas denies the Israelis' claim, saying the top commander was not present at the camp. The strike came on the same day Gaza saw the highest single-day delivery of aid since October 7th. At least 66 trucks crossed the border into Gaza carrying much-needed food, water, and medicine.
It's not enough. It's still a trickle.
The head of the UN agency says Gaza's entire population is being dehumanized. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is ruling out a pause in fighting, saying this is a time for war. That's despite growing calls from the UN agencies for a ceasefire to allow more aid to reach Gaza.
One war crime doesn't justify the other one, and a hospital is a hospital.
The latest airstrikes deepening the crisis, as hospitals already struggling are having to take drastic measures to care for the wounded.
We are operating children without anesthetic, children with a face totally burned. We don't have morphine for them.
This as Palestinians and about 400 U.S. citizens remain trapped in Gaza, pleading for help.
American citizens and their family members, so it's roughly 1,000 people.
I'm Gloria Pezmina reporting.
On Wednesday, Israel bombed the Jabalia refugee camp again. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., the Department of Homeland Security and FBI warned of increased threats to Jewish, Muslim, and Arab communities. Threats which have skyrocketed since the Hamas attacks. Brian Todd reports.
From America's top law enforcement and Homeland Security officials, a frightening assessment of the atmosphere of fear now surrounding the Jewish and Muslim communities in the U.S. since the Israel-Hamas war began on October 7th.
In the days and weeks since, we have responded to an increase in threats against Jewish, Muslim, and Arab American communities and institutions across our country.
Director Wray. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and FBI Director Christopher Wray, in Senate testimony today, said the ongoing war has ramped up the threat landscape inside the U.S.
Our most immediate concern is that violent extremists, individuals or small groups, will draw inspiration from the events in the Middle East to carry out attacks against Americans going about their daily lives.
Wray says it's not just violent extremists inspired by foreign terrorist organizations who are a threat to the Muslim and Jewish communities in the U.S., but also lone wolves who've targeted those groups since October 7th.
We've already seen that with the individual we arrested last week in Houston who'd been studying how to build bombs and posted online about his support for killing Jews. And with the tragic killing of a 6-year-old Muslim boy in Illinois in what we're investigating as a federal hate crime.
The top Jewish and Muslim civil rights organizations in the U.S. both report huge spikes in incidents targeting their groups. The Anti-Defamation League says since October 7th, there's been a nearly 400% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in America.
This is like a virus. It's spreading across the country, around the world.
And the Council on American Islamic Relations says complaints of incidents targeting Muslims in the U.S. have been about 3 times higher since October 7th than they were during the same period last year.
There's no way to really give you a sense of the incoming flood of calls. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with people reaching out with various requests for help, some of them really traumatized by what has happened to them.
Like a family in the Chicago area who put up a Free Palestine sign in their yard. They got a letter saying, remove the sign or burn. In upstate New York, a person is now in custody in connection with a series of threats against Jewish students at Cornell University.
When you look at the plots and the individuals who've been arrested, they're almost pedestrian in nature. These are average citizens that are drawn into an online environment that encourages them to commit these acts.
A lot of Americans are worried about their personal safety, and it's not only because of the Mideast crisis. In Lewiston, Maine, a killer was on the loose last week after he randomly killed 18 people. Schools and businesses were closed for 3 days. JT Scott details on what had happened.
I suggest that you go. We have an active shooter, and we're not sure where he's at.
A small community on edge, and a shelter-in-place order in multiple towns across Maine as heavily armed forces search for the man responsible for a mass shooting that left 18 dead in Lewiston.
There is now arrest warrants for murder for this particular individual, Mr. Card. So he is viewed as a suspect, and there is a full court press by all of our partners to bring him into custody.
Police advise that Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Surveillance footage from the scene show the moments just before the suspect, Robert Card, began his deadly rampage. He began at a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth bowling night and then traveled about 4 miles to the second scene at a restaurant.
Place to go have a good time and have fun. And then we get somebody that's crazy like that walk in and do what they did, you know.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Like, why do people do this?
According to law enforcement, the suspect is 40-year-old Robert Card, who is a former military-trained arms instructor. Card has been documented to suffer from multiple mental health issues, including hearing voices, and had previously made threats to shoot up a National Guard base, in addition to being committed to a mental health institution this last summer. He remains on the loose as Maine law enforcement continue their manhunt. Officials have searched Card's residence and are now looking for any details to help locate the suspect. From iPulse, I'm JT Scott.
Robert Card was found after committing suicide. State and federal authorities are now investigating how he escaped detection when there were so many apparent indications he had severe emotional problems. Inland news, the new gym, the Cinder Center for Health and Wellness, is now open. Chelsea Morin was at the preview day.
Today is preview day at the brand new gym, counseling center, and health center at the Cinder Center for Health and Wellness here on Lynn University campus. There is so much to see as everyone looks around, and there's great food to enjoy for today. For the grand opening, there is a food truck and music for students and faculty members to enjoy. Prior to the Snyder Center of Health and Wellness, the gym, counseling center, and health center used to be in separate locations on campus. Now students can tackle all areas of health and wellness within one location. The new gym opening is making it easier on students' pockets. Gym memberships and gas are expensive, and having a gym on campus makes everything more convenient. Rashana Bennett, a senior, shares her thoughts on finally having a gym.
I think it is fantastic. It looks amazing. It looks pristine, brand new. You never would have known that this was an old cafeteria. And compared to the last gym, this has just completely blown all my expectations away. I won't say like the worth was weighted, but it kind of was when I look at it now.
Athletes finally get the chance to work out indoors after waiting during construction and working out in the heat. The Director of Athletic Performance, Zach Rao, shares how he feels about being able to have all the equipment needed to work with his athletes.
Yes, it's fantastic. We've waited a long time for it, and training outside. It's been an eventful semester, but it's fantastic to finally be inside. Got all the racks set up for us, so we're ready to roll.
Jim Blasek, a student working at the center's opening day, shares his feelings on the new building's developments.
Yes, I'm just super hyped that we actually finally get the gym. We've been waiting for it so long. Also touring students here, it's been great. Everyone is just having so much fun, and finally, being able to get a sneak peek in, and then I'm just really excited to go in on Monday, hopefully, and finally get that workout. Haven't been able to in a while, getting those pounds, but hopefully soon, yeah.
As you can see, everyone's loving the brand new gym, the counseling center, health and wellness center, and everyone's having a great time. I'm Chelsea Morin with iPulse.
In Lynn athletics, a member of the Lynn women's lacrosse team has faced a challenging ACL injury and has made an impressive comeback. The player struggled emotionally and physically, but refused to let it define her. Delaney Smith reports on this amazing grad student.
Grad student number 28 on the women's lacrosse team, Liz Thomasitis, faced a challenging journey after tearing her ACL in the fall of 2021 during her time at Seton Hill University.
As a bouncer goes in, and Thomasitis makes it 2-0, a good start for Seton Hill.
The last 6 minutes of our last game, I was going for a ground ball and collided with another player from the other team. When I got hurt, I immediately heard 3 loud pops. I went down immediately and was in a lot of pain, calling for my coach. She was the first person on the field, and then I believe a trainer came over to me and helped me off the field. And I just remember feeling crushed, just totally helpless, because it was in the fall. I knew in that moment I wasn't going to play the rest of the year. I was missing my spring season, and I was just devastated.
That's her 3rd goal.
Liz's injury was a roller coaster of emotions, but the height of her fear hit her on the day of her surgery.
The day of my surgery, I was extremely nervous. I've never had a major surgery like that, so I just remember going in with my dad and kind of freaking out a little bit.
With a burning desire to take her skills to new heights after the setback of injury, Liz put in countless hours, underwent multiple rehabilitation tactics, and persisted to train through her pain.
The recovery process for this was very difficult. There was a lot of good days and a lot of bad days. Yeah, every single day I went to the training room for at least 2 hours. I was there working with the trainers, going to physical therapy. So it takes a lot of intrinsic motivation, but that's all it is, just being pushed by your teammates, your friends, your family, and that's how I got back on the field.
Liz's determination and resilience pushed her to embark on a remarkable recovery that not only returned her to the game she loves, but led her to trade in her old jersey, a symbol of her past victories, for a brand new one, representing the start of a thrilling career as a Fighting Knight.
Did my undergrad for 4 years at Seton Hill University in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And then after graduation, I decided to use my redshirt year and enter the transfer portal, and I decided to choose Lynn. The thing that stuck out to me about Lynn was the team chemistry, the atmosphere, and how welcoming the coaches were when I came to visit campus. They really sold their values and their vision for the team to me.
The Lynn women's lacrosse team is super excited to introduce such a committed and strong-willed player to their team.
So far, it has been amazing. I've loved every second of my experience here at Lynn.
I'm Delaney Smith for iPulse TV News.
Student athletes face a unique set of challenges that can put them at increased risk for mental health problems, with intense pressure to perform while juggling academics, training, and a social life. Brooke Bond reports.
Between countless hours put into training, class, homework, and life as a teenager, mental health is something everybody struggles with. But student athletes have an increased risk for issues.
How do you manage your mental health?
I bring a journal to the beach and just write out my thoughts if I'm ever having a hard time. And then I also meditate at night.
So I usually like to once a week take a book and sit in the hammocks in the capstone courtyard and have a little cat sitting beside me, and that really helps me to de-stress and just forget everything, all the stress from the weekend. I also like to journal every evening and write down my thoughts of the day, how I felt, if I didn't accomplish something or if I did.
According to the NCAA, 24% of male athletes and 36% of female athletes feel they suffer with mental health issues.
How can we break the stigma surrounding mental health?
Mental health is something everybody at one point in time in their lives struggle with. And I think it's understanding that, one, you're not the only one who might be going through something. And two, it's that everybody else at one point in time knows what you're going through. And everybody goes through something at one point in time in their lives. So in understanding each other's struggles, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, it's not just a trend. It's not just something that you're going to go through and you're done all of a sudden. It's understanding each other's struggles.
Student athletes are more likely to struggle with depression, anxiety, and eating disorders, but do not often seek help.
On Lynn's campus, do you feel comfortable accessing the mental health services or support that they provide?
Yeah, whenever I feel like stressed out or need help, I go talk to one of the counselors, and they are very caring with what I have to say, and they help me do breathing exercises to calm me down.
Mental health is everything. Make the time like your life depends on it, because it does. This is Brooke Bond from iPulse.
In women's golf, there's an upcoming star on our Lynn player roster. Her name is Charlotte Brooke. Reporter Swanson Gibson spoke to her.
Freshman Charlotte Brooke of Lynn University's women's golf team was recognized as the Sunshine State Conference Golfer of the Week for September. The 19-year-old native of Poole, England, has over 5 years of experience in competitive golfing and hopes to one day compete professionally. Brooke gave iPulse insight regarding her performance and how she felt about her achievement.
I feel like I've definitely performed well. I'm happy with my performance. I definitely feel like I need to work on short game, getting extra putts in, chipping closer to, gain more birdies potentially. But overall I'm happy, and obviously there's lots of improvement needed though still. I was definitely surprised. My teammates told me, that's how I found out, and I got sent it a few times and I was very happy. It's my first tournament, so I was definitely very happy and I was surprised to get it, yeah.
Brooke discussed the guidance she receives from her coach, as well as the bond she has with her teammates.
My coach has been great. He's been really helpful on and off the course. I really feel like I can speak to him, so mentally I feel like I'm in a much better place than I was. On the course, he's always there for me, so he helps me prepare shots or what to do to make decisions, and it's definitely very helpful. My teammates are amazing. I actually live with one of my teammates and she's great. I think we've got a really good relationship. We like to push each other, we're always friendly with each other, and I think the team atmosphere is amazing. We've definitely been told by other schools and universities that they envy us and they really like our team spirit, so I think that's a bonus.
The freshman also spoke about meeting two-time Professional Golfers Association champion Rory McIlroy and the advice he gave to her.
So I met him in England at the BMW PGA event. He was really nice. I've always been a massive fan of him. I think as a golfer he's probably my idol. So when I met him I was definitely really happy. He definitely gave me some words of encouragement. He told me to keep going, keep sticking out what I'm doing. And just to hear words like that from someone like him is just amazing, and it made me feel great.
I'm Swanson Gibson Jr. for iPulse.
On a lighter note, there's a man in Wisconsin who seems to stealing police cars. He did it last December, and while awaiting trial for that crime, he recently did it again. Eleanor Bruce reports.
Wisconsin police are quick to lock the doors of their squad cars after this footage went viral, which showed 34-year-old Daniel Barton stealing and joyriding a Milwaukee Police Department squad car. In December last year, he abandoned the vehicle to hide in a nearby trash can.
Looks like somebody just stole my vehicle.
After being arrested and charged with misdemeanor car theft, Barton was set free, and 6 months later, while awaiting trial, he used this opportunity to strike again.
Your squad? What the f***? That's your squad.
While involved in a traffic stop, Sherwood police noticed one of the officers' vehicles sped by them and fled the scene. After searching the area for Barton and the stolen car, they found him hiding in a gym, where he was arrested once again. I'm Eleanor Bruce for iPulse.
Now an update. Israel says it is surrounding Gaza City as its bombardment of the Strip continues. But there seems to be a softening of the tension at the border with Egypt. Gerard Jones reports.
While fierce fighting continues in the north, at least 335 dual nationals have been permitted to cross at the Rafah border. In addition, a limited number of injured Palestinians have been allowed to enter into Egypt at the same border. Ambulances line up to care for the injured. One of those released could be heard saying, "Let us in. We are exhausted, we can't sleep or eat." I'm Gerard Jones for iPulse.
Our thoughts go out to all of those who are suffering in this war. Some good news, here's an anniversary we can all celebrate. Last week, military veteran James Fincham celebrated his 100th birthday. Lizette Guillen reports.
Feels pretty good. I'm looking for the next 100.
James Flincham celebrated his 100th birthday Sunday afternoon with family, friends, and loved ones at his assisted living home in Christiansburg. He says he was honored to have his closest people with him on his special day.
I'm real proud of them, all of them. Proud of them.
Flincham served as an aviation engineer for 2 years during World War II. His proud son, Jim Flincham, also served in the military and says like any veteran, his father does not like to talk about his experiences in the war.
The P-51s would land, and very often they were shot up already and leaking fuel. Many of them caught fire, and sometimes he always got the pilots out. And if they were on, the pilots sometimes were on fire too, and he'd pull them out, spray them down. He was quite heroic and all that.
After 2 years in his platoon, he was then stationed in England and traveled across Europe after D-Day. Jim Flincham shares what his father says is the secret to a long life.
No smoking, no drinking. Okay, I think I've heard that before.
He says it's an honor to be able to tell his father happy 100th birthday.
How many people do you know that can say happy 100th birthday, Dad? Do you know anybody can say that?
Flincham spent the rest of the afternoon receiving gifts and eating cake with his guests. I'm Lizette Guillen for iPulse.
A footnote. We will continue to follow the Middle East crisis next week and the weeks to come. That's iPulse Live for November 3rd. I am Nicole Zayek.
And I'm Allison Wallace. To find out more about these stories, search for iPulse and the Apple News app. See you next week.